Hello, my name is Rafael C, and the topic of today's presentation is pay-wage inequality in the sports industry. As Albert Einstein once said, there is a driving force more powerful than steam, electricity, and atomic energy, the will. In a world where progressive movements in majoritarily developing countries continue to sweep conservative practices that negatively impact certain gender and races, questions regarding where will this fight for equality reach its limit and where does economic principles collide with the will for monetary equality. The research question presented is, to what extent has gender pay wage inequality in the sports industry advanced over the 21st century in the United States? The pay wage gap inequality in the sports industry in the United States will continue to progress over the course of the 21st century, marked by cultural trends which bring attention to the issue, economic principles exercising their mandates, and through scientific limitations that border the topic of male and female biology. Throughout the last decades, the sports industry has endured significant changes when it comes to adapting progressive views over cultural trends in the United States. The more emotional and even realistic approach to this dilemma suggests that in the near future, legal efforts aimed to close the pay wage gap will be fruitful, and the inspiration by modern athletes to an influential generation of young women will nurture a dynamic of future super athletes, as stated in the provided stimuli Empower Women Through Sports. In 2018, UN Women proudly welcomed one of the most celebrated women in sport, Marta Vieira da Silva, as a global ambassador for gender equality and sport. As a 6-time FIFA Player of the Year, widely regarded as one of the best female soccer players of all time, Marta is an inspiration to millions of girls around the world. Her life story illustrates many of the barriers that women still face in the sport, the sheer determination that it takes to overcome these. Marta will support UN's women's effort by working to inspire women and girls to challenge stereotypes, overcome barriers, and follow their ambitions. These kinds of events can be seen as seeds of trees that will grow and endow a group of women sports leaders. When going into the field, everyone has their role models. Messi, Michael Jordan, Michael Phelps, Cristiano Ronaldo, etc. All had their strengths and potential in sports from men who they picked as their inspirations from. As stated by Nelson Mandela, sports has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire, it has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to the youth in a language they understand. Sports can create hope where there was once only despair. According to a stimuli provided, The Meaning of Serena Williams from the New York Times Magazine, imagine you have won 21 Grand Slam titles, with only 4 losses and 25 appearances in the finals. Imagine you've achieved 2 Serena Slams. The manner in which the article expresses the idea of a Serena Williams connotes more of an imagery of a winner and a living proof that anything is possible. Little girls watching all of her tournaments have an inspiration to watch from. As you can see in the graphic included, women's inclusion is steadily growing over the years, a trend which is set to continue. According to an article released March 24th, 2021 from the Associated Press by Josh Boak, he discusses the role of U.S. national soccer team in President Biden's Equal Pay Day event at the White House. Biden states, the pay gap is real, and this team is living proof that you can be the very best at what you do and still have to fight for equal pay. The women's national soccer team has won the World Cup 4 times, most recently in 2019, but it sued the U.S. Soccer Federation the same year over the wage discrimination in 2019. The typical woman who worked the full time took home just 82 cents of man's typical pay. We must begin by passing the Paycheck Fairness Act, states Biden. As you can see here, although there's a difference in viewership, the difference between the percentage is 10 times fold in the pay compared to a 3 times fold in the viewings. The death of unequal pay can sometimes equivocate with the general supply and demand rules of business, as Economy Nobel Prize winner Milton Friedman establishes in his book, Capitalism and Freedom, where he insinuates the perfectness of a capitalist society is due to the theorem that when institutions such as businesses offer services and products that aren't appealing to the public, they will either not be solvent or just have to change their approach of their business scheme. Some would say in the sports industry that overabundance of inequality of monetary wages in sports can in some instances come from the trend of lack of gross profit from the team attracts rather than unethical and immoral practices of misogyny. Naturally, with this precept in mind, the following question arises. Can a sports women athletes achieve equality in pay with their male counterparts. With growing cultural trends of women empowerment in the United States, it has endured over the last decades. This can become a reality for the individual sportswoman. This thesis must be for the individual sportswoman because, as well as in the men's industry, contracts on and off the field income relations is what in many instances has brought athletes such as deceased basketball player Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant to become billionaires and leave a financial legacy for their family. As you can see here, there is a neat difference in the revenue of the NBA and the WNBA. Even at cheaper prices, the NBA receives more attendance than the WNBA. This means its demand for attendance is much higher. People want to watch the NBA not because of necessarily misogyny, but rather because there is a difference in performance and possibly quality of the show. There's also a congruent phenomenon in rigorous similar industries, such as the modeling industry, in which men are substantially paid less than their female counterparts. And even within the same gender in a sports industry, different players will be paid less because of their physical characteristics and contracts. There can also be a scientific explanation over this phenomenon, which can be explained through biology. According to Duke Law, which offers more of a pragmatic approach, in an article called Comparing Athletes' Performances by Duran Lamolet Coleman, as you can see, in the last Olympics, the U.S. champion Stories Bowers' 100-meter lifetime's best was beaten over 15,000 times by boys and men over in the same year. And also for Allyson Felix' 400 meters lifetime's best as a union champion, which was 49 seconds, 26 seconds, it was being over 15,000 times again by boys and men competitors. People naturally gravitate towards watching entertainment content that provides the extreme of human capabilities. For example, in simple terms, people will watch the Super Bowl over men final rather than college football men final or a less competitive level in the same sport due to the men's body difference, muscular and hormonal structuralization, which results in different athletic performances. People decide to invest their time in watching largely better athletic performances. According to a Europe PMC article by Henry C. J. and Caitlin C. titled Neuromuscular Differences Between Male and Female Athletes, it states, recent studies have identified neuromuscular differences between male and female athletes. Specifically, female athletes have decreased stiffness and decreased potential for dynamic stabilization of the knee joint. The physiological difference between men and women is at fault of no one. The monetary relationship this scientific factor has with unequal pay gap can be lessened through publicity and marketing of a certain player or a team. People tune in to watch the LA Lakers more than the Milwaukee Bucks. This is due to performance as well as nationwide promotion of players and social media portrayal. In conclusion, although the pay-wage gap can be a polemical subject in which some believe it is more of a sports preference or that players just don't attract the attention of viewers' money and time, it is clear that over the course of the 21st century, there will be a progressive advances in the fight to close the pay gap. The narrative is remarked by the trends and basis modern culture is setting up for the following years. This is also due by an influence current women athletes are going to have in the following years. And if the female sports industry attains economic principles in their favor, this will help also attain equality. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I do have two questions for you. First up, how valid and reliable were the sources that you used, and how do you know they were?
So I made sure that the sources were reliable by mainly going through scholarly articles such as Google Scholarly and going through them. After that, I selected a group of articles and papers by professors and other people that were specialized in their fields and experts in their knowledge, such as Milton Friedman, which I stated. I also made sure to exclude evidence and from information such as magazines and other information that could include biased content, because that would just simply hinder my presentation and hinder my topic. I wanted to specifically include information that was reliable and important to my subject.
Okay. And what advice would you have for other researchers who consider this topic?
So an advice I would recommend is to really establish the margin of what you're looking for. Because, for example, for me at the beginning, I started looking at an international level, and then I realized that really the information I was finding and the importance of the information I was finding was mainly towards the U.S. That helped me change my research towards the U.S. So I would recommend them to really know what they're looking for and also have some established knowledge of issues such as progressive movements and supply and demand economic principles in order to understand better what they're researching.
You are done.